So I'm just wanting to film to help some people out doing an alternator upgrade slash swap on their FC. I've got currently right here a stock S5 Rx7 alternator. It is, I believe, 80 amps, and I actually went with a Taurus 6G series from Junkyard that's 110 amps. A lot of people do the 130 amp swap. I honestly would have, but this is all I had available at my local junkyard. So $30 alternator, not gonna hurt my feelings that it's not the 130, 110 is more than enough for me. But this video just kind of want to explain what parts you need, all of that. I actually have had to swap if you're still on a V-band pulley setup. I went to a local alternator shop and actually got a full pulley that is actually one size up from the stock one, and a little spacer behind it so that it fits perfectly on this alternator. I have ground down the ear on this alternator so it can fit perfectly well. Two pretty easy things. I just used an angle grinder to do so. This was $30 alternator. It was $29 after tax for this pulley and this spacer. I purchased 10 foot of 4-gauge wire from Lowe's. That was $14. Purchased these 3/8 by 16 and 3/4 bolts, and then nuts for those bolts for an extension on the factory bracket for mounting the alternator. I just basically took a piece of steel, ground it down about 3 inches long, and extended the bracket so that the alternator can actually tighten the belt still. Just for reference, here's the factory bracket and my modified one. Not as pretty as some people's probably. Works for me. Eventually I might go back and make a kind of more streamlined version. I did have to grind out inside of this here on the bracket. My wiring's a little bit different here, as I have the 6G series, and most people go with the 1G or 2G or 3G series alternator out of the Taurus. So I've got my power wire right here. My new 4-gauge is ran to 150 amp breaker right here, and that comes to the positive for my battery. I did go ahead and add, with part of my 4-gauge wire, a new ground from the alternator. I'll plug it back in here now soon, but I just went and got that new pulley today. But works perfectly fine, charges the car, and it was a pretty simple install, to be honest, and way more affordable than the, I believe it's like the DC series, or like it's a really high amp alternator that you'll never use, but it's I think like 400 bucks. This cost me less than 100 altogether. So hope it helps somebody out, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. So I've got the alternator back in with it all tightened down, everything all back wired up, and it should be all good. So I'll go ahead and start it up and let you guys see it run in a minute, but all the part numbers and everything will be in the description below. There you go. It's all running, idling, zero issues. Car's charging. Again, if you guys have any questions, let me know.